Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Mark Anderson reveals most important question he asked Kelsey. Mark Anderson quickly became a Bachelor Nation fan favorite when fans first met him during Kelsey Anderson's hometown date with Joey Grazieve. It was at that moment that viewers everywhere wanted to see more of him, especially in the form of being the next Golden Bachelor. He had lost his wife Denise 6 years earlier to breast cancer and decided he was ready to dip his toes back into the dating pool. He joined Joan Vasso's season of the Golden Bachelorette. Unfortunately, Joan did not see a lasting future with him, so she sent him home. This was his first experience with reality television other than during Kelsey's date, so he had some very important questions. However, there was only he really truly wanted answer before heading to Los Angeles to the Bachelor Mansion. What was it? Keep reading to find out more. Mark Anderson really only wanted to know one thing before filming. Golden Bachelorette contestant Mark Anderson recently appeared on Bachelor Happy Hour with Joe Amabile and Serena Pitt. During his interview with them, he dished on what he asked daughter Kelsey Anderson before leaving for Los Angeles to film with Joan Vassos. It seems he didn't really want to know much about what he should expect dating-wise or even camera time-wise. Instead, his most important question had nothing to do with Joan or the other men who would also be competing for time with the leading lady. Mark wanted the chance to experience the show all on his own without knowing what to expect during the process. However, he had one huge concern. Mark shared that he asked a very important question of his daughter. He said, "Was there sparks with Joan Vassos?" Joe Amabile and Serena Pitt also wanted Mark Anderson to spill the tea on whether or not there were sparks between him and Joan Vassos. He shared that indeed there were sparks flying between him and the Golden Bachelorette. Mark even politely asked permission from Joan before laying a big kiss on her, which she approved of completely. Things seemed to be going great between the two of them. However, in the end, she didn't think he was quite over losing his wife Denise. So, she sent him home and fans are eager to see if ABC will cast him as the second Golden Bachelor. What do you think about Mark's very important question? Do you think he has a shot at being the lead? As he sat on the candlelit patio overlooking a breathtaking California sunset, Mark Anderson knew that this was the night he asked the most crucial question of his journey on the Golden Bachelorette. It wasn't the obvious, "Do you love me?" or even, "Can you see a future with me?" Instead, it was the question he'd never been brave enough to ask anyone else. The one that had haunted his past relationships and led him down paths of heartbreak and confusion. With Kelsey Anderson, however, everything was different. He'd been caught off guard by her openness, her vulnerability, and the grace with which she seemed to navigate life. She had the kind of beauty that was timeless yet refreshingly real. Laughter lines crinkled around her eyes, and there was a confidence in her that came not from past achievements, but from the sheer courage to live authentically. Kelsey, he realized, was not just a love interest. She was someone who could reshape the way he saw love itself. They had been talking for hours, discussing childhood memories, the quirks of their families, and the philosophies they held close. But all through their conversation, one question simmered just beneath the surface, gnawing at Mark as he tried to summon the courage to voice it. "So, Kelsey," he said, drawing in a breath, "I've been thinking a lot about what really matters to me in a relationship. And I have this question. One I've honestly never dared to ask anyone before, but with you, I feel like it's the right time." Kelsey looked at him, her eyes warm but curious. "Ask away," she said, clearly intrigued by his serious tone. Mark's heart raced. Here he was, surrounded by rose petals and cameras, about to bare a part of his soul he kept hidden for so long. "Kelsey," he began, his voice soft but steady, "how do you see love and independence coexisting?" There it was. The question that had plagued him through countless relationships, each one leaving him wondering if he'd ever find someone who could understand that love didn't have to mean losing oneself. He knew it was a loaded question, and perhaps even an unconventional one. But Mark needed to know if Kelsey could truly comprehend what it meant to love, while still holding on to one's own life, dreams, and ambitions. Kelsey's brow furrowed, not out of confusion but deep contemplation. She seemed to understand the gravity of the question, as if recognizing that this was not just about them. It was about their future and whether they could build one together without sacrificing who they were as individuals. "Mark," she replied, after a long pause, "that's probably the most important question anyone's ever asked me." As she spoke, her gaze drifted across the twinkling city lights, her thoughts clearly swirling as she considered her answer. "To be honest," she continued, "I think love and independence are like two dancers in a complicated routine. You need to be close, to move in sync, but if either of you stumbles or tries to control the other, you end up stepping on each other's toes." Mark felt a rush of relief. Kelsey's words resonated with him on a profound level. Her analogy captured the essence of what he'd struggled to communicate in the past, the delicate balance between connection and self-preservation. Kelsey continued, "For me, being with someone isn't about filling in gaps or fixing each other. It's about supporting each other, building each other up, but also allowing space to grow individually. I've seen too many relationships where people lose sight of their passions, their dreams, and I don't ever want that for myself or for you." Her answer struck him like a revelation. He had spent years fearing that love would mean giving up a part of himself, his passions, his freedom. But here was Kelsey, affirming his belief that true love should amplify, not diminish, who they each were. "It's not just about living for each other," she added thoughtfully, "but living alongside each other with mutual respect and admiration." The words hung in the air, and Mark found himself nodding, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. He looked at Kelsey with newfound admiration, realizing that she didn't just understand his fears, she shared them. And that understanding, he thought, might just be the foundation they needed. "Kelsey," he said, reaching for her hand, "I think that's what I've been looking for my whole life. Someone who sees love the way I do. I've always been terrified of losing myself in a relationship, but with you, I don't feel that fear." She squeezed his hand, a gentle smile curving her lips. "Mark, I want you to know that you'll never lose yourself with me. I respect you too much to let that happen." As they held each other's gaze, it became clear that this was no ordinary question. It was a declaration of shared values, a promise to nurture not just their love, but each other's individuality. They might have just started their journey, but in that moment, Mark felt closer to Kelsey than he'd ever felt to anyone. She squeezed his hand, a gentle smile curving her lips. "Mark, I want you to know that you'll never lose yourself with me. I respect you too much to let that happen." As they held each other's gaze, it became clear that this was no ordinary question. It was a declaration of shared values, a promise to nurture not just their love, but each other's individuality. They might have just started their journey, but in that moment, Mark felt closer to Kelsey than he'd ever felt to anyone.